just did the shit with no sponsors. I put in work in a Hyundai, driving that bitch on a Sunday. I put in work, imported beat out of Sweden, killing it bit for no reason. I put in work, I put in work, I put in work, I put in work.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your favorite trainer AP with T.U.T Experiment. Today's question is, are you a fat burner or a carb burner? Before we get into this conversation, do me a favor, hit the like button, yes, hit the subscribe button, yes, because like I told you, I'm trying to blow up in these YouTube streets, man. I'm not playing no games, so do that for me real quick. Appreciate you. All right, let's get in. So are you a fat burner or are you a carb burner? Fat burner means that you utilize fat as fuel majority of the time, and carb burner or sugar burner means that you utilize carbs or sugar as fuel majority of the time. Biologically speaking, if you are a fat burner, you're in a better state to achieve your wellness goals as opposed to being a carb burner. Why is that? Great question. So traditionally speaking, we need oxygen in our bodies to burn fat. Okay, the more oxygen you have, so when you are at rest, when you're at home, doing nothing, you're calm, you're chilling, right? You should be operating under a fat burning state. What that comes from is a quick history lesson is that before we became settlers, right, as a human race, we were nomads, which meant that we had to go place to place, and then we were also hunters and gatherers, which meant that we were unsure where our food would come from. So what our bodies did to conserve, to reserve energy, was to tap into our fats as our primary source, because we have double the amount of fats to carbs and proteins, right? 9 grams versus 4 and 4 to every 1 calorie. All right. So we naturally have more fat. And so our bodies became hip to that. So it's like, okay, let's burn off the fat as long as they're in the state of relaxation, a state of calm and tranquility. So from the one meal to the next meal, we use fat to get to that. All right. And that should translate to modern day. Okay. The primary purpose of carbs as fuel is that you don't need as much or if any oxygen to burn carbs, to use sugar, to use your glycolytic system as your primary fuel source. History lesson again, during those times that we were migrating and going from place to place, there were a lot of dangers. And so people had to act quickly. Okay, so whenever your body was whenever you saw a lion chasing after you, right, you had to get up out of there, right? You don't got time to breathe and think about all these things, right? You got to go, right? Or, say goodbye, right? So because we had to have a different system to kick off energy expenditure in the quicker period of time. That's where carb burn came from. Okay, so our body for its need to survive and react quickly, utilize carbs as our primary fuel source. Our body as a need to survive and sustain energy over long periods of time, right? Use fat as our energy fuel source. The problem that we have today is that we no longer have those physical dangers, right? As we needed to. So now it's less tangible. So many times we might be at home in the comfort of our own homes, relaxing, resting with an optimal amount of oxygen in our bodies. So we should be, technically speaking, right, burning fat as fuel. However, we have so much stress in our lives, so much stress from our work, so much stress from our personal lives, so much stress from family, so much stress from friends, from relationships, whatever it is, right? We have so much stress that that our body is tapping into that fight or flight response that we were so good at when we actually needed it to escape the wild, right? So now we take that same energy and we apply it on a physiological level, and so that makes us very inefficient, right? And so we need to figure out, right, if we are burning fat as fuel, or if we are metabolically inefficient and we are at rest but yet burning carbs as fuel. Especially, doesn't matter what your weight loss goals are, if carbs is your primary source of fuel, you will have a significantly harder time, I would say nearly impossible time, right, to get the results you want to get, especially if your results are weight driven. Okay. So it was biologically necessary for us to do that. It was so explain that. Okay. So why is this important? Okay. So why is being a carb burner not good, and why is being a fat burner not good? Okay. Or why is it good? Okay. So why is this important? This is important because we want to have metabolic flexibility. Okay. That means that we want to graduate from the necessity to pay so much attention to the amount of calories we're eating. We want to be able to consume whatever we want within reason and within moderation, and not worry that it's going to significantly affect our goals, right? So if we have a weight loss goal, we want to be able to live our lives, right? Because fitness is a lifestyle. It's not a temporary thing you do for a period of time. You have to do it for the rest of your life. Okay, so the reason it's important is because we want to get to a state where we have metabolic flexibility. Okay, what is metabolic flexibility? Metabolic flexibility describes the ability of an organism to respond or adapt according to changes in metabolic or energy demand, as well as the prevailing conditions or activity. So what is metabolic flexibility? Metabolic flexibility is the ability of an organism, you, to respond or adapt according to changes in metabolic or energy demand, as well as the prevailing conditions or activity. Okay, so our ability to remain flexible from a digestive perspective, from an energy expenditure perspective. Okay, what are signs that you are a sugar burner? Okay, so if you are a Western individual, which most of us are, then you probably partake on the SAD diet. The SAD is a standard American diet. It's sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. Mutually stay. Okay. Signs that you are participating, signs that you are a sugar burner, right? Is that if you have an abnormal desire to eat every 2 to 3 hours, okay, if you have mood swings, if you have energy dips, if you have just intense fatigue, you're always tired, if you have headaches, if you are foggy, right, your thoughts aren't focused, if you have decreased performance, right, decreased athletic performance, decreased desire to do any physical activity, okay, if you have trouble sleeping, right, so all of these could be sure signs that you may be more of a sugar burner versus a fat burner, right? And so if you are a fat burner, right, then you should be able to go 4 to 6 hours, right, without food and not feel extremely hungry, or not feel hangry, basically, right? You should have, if you are a fat burner, you should have a decreased craving for sugar. So if you find yourself craving sugar a lot, more than likely you have a higher percentage of carb as primary fuel than you do as fat. Okay. If you can exercise without pre-workout, right? So without any carbs, if you can exercise without any pre-workouts, right? More than likely you are primarily operating as with fat as your primary source. If you can sleep better, if you have increased mental clarity, right, and acuity, if you have a better mood, right? So for some of y'all who are in a bad mood, stop eating those damn carbs. All right. What are examples of good sources of carbs, and what are examples of some good sources of fats? So for fats, right, good fats would be coconut, avocado, seed oil, olive oil, high quality dairy and animal fats, right? So that means that there are probably wild, free roam, clean grass, right? Types of animal. Okay, so what are some good sources of fats and carbs? Good sources of fats include coconut, avocados, seed oil, olive oil, quality dairy and animal fats. Okay, quality, which means that you can source, right, the food that those animals were eating, and that they are all natural, right? Free of any chemicals or hormones. Fatty fish, okay, especially fish that have high omega-3s in it. Nuts, right? Healthy nuts, seeds, and butter. Okay, so those are some things that you should incorporate in your diet on a daily basis. My apologies there. Examples of good carbs would be things that are in the category of a complex carbs, right? So you have simple carbs is the same thing as sugar. So you have simple sugars and you have complex sugars. So simple sugars are sugars that are easily digested in your system. Okay. Whereas so if you think of any junk food as an example, would be a good example of simple sugars. Whereas carbs, complex carbs are carbs that take a long time to metabolize, which means that you get to utilize that energy for a long period of time. So some good examples of plant-based healthy carbs, healthy carbohydrates, includes polyphenols, omega-3s, sulforaphane, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. Okay, and some probiotics, right? So those would be some examples of things that would have more complex carbs, or would have better, healthier carbs for you. The goal here is to understand whether or not you are a carb, your carb or sugar burner, or whether or not you are a fat burner. And if you are a fat burner, then we want to know how fast or how slow your metabolism works, and we want to keep you in that state. If you are a carb burner, we want to know what stress factors, right, are affecting you that is creating that metabolic inflexibility. Okay, and then we want to address those things. So those are signs and symptoms. Again, the best way to get this information and to know it is to get your resting metabolic analysis done. Okay, I will leave some information in the description box. I said comment box last time. In the description box of this video, if you're the DMV area, hit me up. I got a place you can go to get tested. If you are anywhere else in the United States, let me know where you are, and I can find a reputable place to go and get your assessment done. That's all I got for you today. Take care. Have a good one. Be easy. Stay healthy, my friends.
Darling, I go fight for your rights, I go die for you.